Everybody. Welcome to the Essential Pedagogy Podcast. Well, I feel like I have to define this word pedagogy every time we get on here, but I need this to be like a mainstream word. Pedagogy means the science and practice of teaching. And so I chose pedagogy because Essential Educator was taken as a name to oh my gosh, I'm losing my words, and I talk too much, but Essential Educator was taken for oh my gosh, well, we know to create things and have longevity and not to get sued. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm having some difficulties today, and so please bear with me. But I want to welcome you guys. The whole premise of this podcast is that I have a hope that the result of listening to this podcast, that people within the profession and outside of the profession gain more compassion for each other by getting an inside view of the complex structure of the American education system. Okay, so I have a guest, and we're having difficulties getting her in. But in the meantime, I just wanted to talk to you guys about how I've been doing a whole lot of planning and talking to people, and it's just been inspiring to talk to so many different people about their thoughts on education. I am lining up a few people that will be talking about education and money. One of the shows will be talking about earmarking money for certain things in education because education, public education, is publicly funded. And so when you have public funds and you're managing public funds, then you have certain aspects of limitations on how you can spend money. And people get in trouble, big time trouble, with spending money wrong when it's given to you by the government. I just wanted to make that maybe like a 3-part series. So I have some people that I've been talking to lined up to talk about money in that aspect, but also money in how teachers are paid, especially in Texas. Uh, I just was talking about I think we said it in the last show that we don't get Social Security, or maybe that was something that I ended up speaking with someone about when we were talking about being paid and getting paid once a month and things like that. And I think it led to the conversation that we, in retirement, we're not eligible in the state of Texas for Social Security. So that whole aspect, I want to talk about that. Want to talk about how diligent spenders and savers in education, how they do it, and how we make it through, even though we're severely underpaid. That's for another show. Gosh, I was hoping that my guest would be in here by now, but she's not. My guest is a longtime educator who we used to work with one another in the middle school setting, and I cannot wait to introduce you guys to her. So I just want to know, those of you who are watching, you have any questions that we haven't touched on, or if you're curious about anything, I'd be happy to address those. The word trademark, that's it. I was trying to think of the word trademark when it came to I'm trying not to say so much, y'all. When it comes to the word essential pedagogy, I trademarked that name because I felt like that was something that would be very popular, and people can remember this name. And I didn't want any problems on down the line if this was to be something that became very popular. Anyhow, we're waiting for the guests. But I could talk now. I've had a challenging week, y'all. After 18 months of being out of education, I'm with a ISD now full time, and I do the podcast and I run a small business with tutoring, and it's been a lot. It's been stressful. I also volunteer at my church, and I manage a database at church, as well as school and managing all those responsibilities. And I don't think I've been doing a good job in managing it all. I'm not great with email. That is my goal, to get better. And I'm writing that goal down, because if it's not written down, it is a wish. And wishes are not something that people work towards, they just hope it spontaneously happens. So I'm going to really work towards managing email better. I have 100 and about 38 kids that, I hate to say kids, children that I am directly responsible for every day. And I know that a lot of people don't feel like that's a lot, but with 138 students, it's a lot of energies coming at you all at once in a day. And it's back to back a lot of times. In my day, I have two periods. One is for professional development, which we do planning for students academically. Um, we put our brains together for tests, for just activities day to day. And then we have another 45-minute time block that is for your conference period, to make your copies, to create what you've talked about in professional development, to update your digital curriculum, things like that. So we have a busy day. And when we're not on having those breaks, we are directly managing and face to face with children. And that can be very challenging, especially if you're not having the best of day, if things are not lining up exactly how you like. It's a challenging day. We are human as teachers, and sometimes we have bad days. Sometimes we have heartbreaks. Sometimes we have breakups. And we still have to come to work with the positive energy. We can't be behind our screens or in our office or cubicle and just say, today I'm just going to chill out and just not talk to a lot of people because I'm having a bad day and I might like go off on someone. We have to really, really check ourselves every single day. And it is a grind, because a lot of times we are working um, late and early. We are not able to work within the time frames of other professions. So we can't run to the post office after work. We can't run to the post office before work. We can't. The other day I tried to go to CVS, and the pandemic has changed things to where CVS ain't 24 hours no more. Walmart's not 24 hours. So if I'm planning for a last minute lab, I'm a science teacher. I cannot do that in the mornings at 6:30. I have to be ready beforehand. So it is definitely a big time commitment and discipline that you have to have with teaching that I haven't experienced in any other career. And I have been in other careers. I started out in as a sales consultant, and there were times where I didn't want to be bothered. So my appointments were not on the days that I weren't um didn't want to be bothered. Oh my gosh, my guest is here. Yay! Stephanie Buckner, we've been waiting for you, girl. Come on in.
Okay,
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm
Good,
just happy to
good.
be here and happy to answer any questions or just clarify things that people may have on their minds about education ongoing. And so
Hmm.
I brought you on because you're so cerebral. I always admired that about you.
Thank you, thank you.
Stephanie Buckner and I, we've worked, what, 11 years together?
Yes, about that. Uh-huh.
11 years together. She was a school counselor. Of course, when you're a school counselor, most times you're starting out as a teacher. So
Mhm.
you were a teacher before. How
Yes.
long were you a teacher before you became a counselor?
I was a special education teacher for 8 years.
Okay, all right. And so then you transitioned to be a school counselor.
Yes.
Did you start in middle school as a school counselor?
I actually started in elementary as a school counselor, but I had taught middle school
Oh,
for 8 years.
okay, okay. And then you went into middle school counseling, and now I hear you're not a counselor anymore. How many
No,
years do you have in education?
I retired last year.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, yes.
I knew you were close. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. Good. So what are you doing nowadays with your time?
So nowadays, I am working as an online adjunct um, for a university teaching master's level students.
Oh my gosh. Say that again. I didn't hear you over the applause.
Oh, no, no, no worries. So nowadays, I am working as an online adjunct professor teaching master's level students.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good, good. That's awesome. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about, what made you transition from being a teacher to a counselor to
Mhm.
now a professor, and where you see education going now.
Okay, sure. So, my reason for becoming a counselor really had to do with a lot with my position. As a SPED teacher, most of my experience was with kids who had behavioral and emotional problems. And most often, I taught the self contained classes.
Mhm,
And I felt often like I did a lot more of what I thought was counseling during that time. And I felt like I could be of more service to them, that I felt like I was pretty good at being able to connect with kids and reach them. And so I thought I'd be able to use those traits as a counselor.
mhm.
And really, that's why I went into counseling.
Wow. Okay, so was it exactly how you thought it would be?
Certainly not. Certainly not. Um, a lot of people think that when you are a school counselor, that that's all you do, I guess, is you get to counsel students all the time. But in reality, you actually do a lot more. And the amount of time that you really get to spend one on one with students is that's the thing that you get to do probably the least of. And it just so happened that in the district where I worked at that time, the counselors were also the school test administrators and the 504 administrators and the at-risk coordinators, and also we built the master schedule. And so we had a lot of other administrative duties in addition to having to schedule students and make sure that we're meeting our goals to talk with students about careers and furthering their education and all those type things. So you really don't spend as much time as you would think just working to counsel students.
Yeah, I know. It's frustrating. One of
Hmm.
the things that I would change in the education system is to have counselors on hand to just do that.
Hmm. I
Counsel.
think there's going to be more a need for that kind of thing
Mhm.
moving forward, especially post COVID.
Okay. And what do you think we need more of? in this world?
I think we need more love. Probably sounds kind of cliche. We need more love. We need more patience, more kindness. I think we need more joy, more laughter. People just need to get back to being happy again. I just always think, in the whole scheme of things, um, we really don't get to live, all that long. We don't get to live forever. And so I just feel like, why waste your time? Why not just celebrate? Why not just live and be happy, in life and in what we do? And so I just think we need more joy. We just need to, we need to be more patient with each other. We just need to, I don't know, find less reasons to be upset, to be, in disagreement.
Yeah, yeah. If you could change one thing about education in America, what do you think it would be?
That's quite a question. Um,
It's loaded for sure.
yeah, there are probably a lot of things, that I have mentioned at one time or another, that I thought should be done differently. But the best answer I can give for that question is that I think I would revamp the whole system, of how we educate kids.
Mm,
Um, to make it more effective, or more beneficial for them in the long run, in terms of preparing them for their lives and for their careers.
hmm. One way I would change is I would try to make parents more involved
Hmm.
by charging a fee. I know
Hmm.
it's very popular, but I would charge a small fee
Hmm.
per child. And if you couldn't afford that because you had a lot of children or you just did not have the money, then there would be some kind of program where you could work it off with your
Hmm.
gifts and talents and
Hmm.
give back to the school, whether it's copying, painting, cutting the yard, cooking, whatever
Hmm.
your gifts are. That
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I mean when I say I would like to revamp the way that we provide an education. I feel like, um, everybody, every student, whether they're academically savvy or not, has some gift. There's something that they're interested in. There's something that they're going to be good at. And but we really, only cater to those who are academically savvy, and it's not to say that we shouldn't, because me myself, I'm a good student, but
you got how many degrees?
well, I've got four, but
And you write books and you just write. You're a writer.
but I recognize that there are some things that I'm not as good at as other people, that other people are good at, that other people have different gifts, and some of them I wish I had. And then I find that same thing to be true with students, with kids. I don't think that, a kid who's gifted in art should be any less prepared or celebrated, or I don't think that they, should not be given the same opportunities to hone that craft and that skill, and to make it something that they could do, to support themselves in life, or whatever their gift is. If they're technologically, I can't say the word tonight, savvy, or if they are good engineers, or if they're good at, fixing cars, if they're good mechanics, hairdressers, or whatever. Those are all viable careers. And I think if that's what they're interested in, and they are strong in talents and characteristics where they could be good at those things, why not make it so that an education in those things is more available? Um,
And they can
yeah.
practice those skills.
Right. They can start practicing those even before they graduate, because not everybody's going to go to college,
Mhm.
and, not everybody's supposed to, but they ought to be able to come out of high school, ready, if they're not going to go to school or whatever, with a skill that they can use for their lives. And I know different programs are offered in different districts. But for most, where they can do some of those things, but for most, there are limited spots, and really, I just think we don't do enough early enough to start um, taking a look at and helping kids to see where their gifts lie. I really feel like I know that the way most of those programs work is kids have to choose them when they're getting ready to go into high school. Well, now I've worked with a lot of eighth graders preparing them for high school and completing their high school graduation plans. Most of them don't have a clue.
Yeah.
And so they don't know what they want to do. And then some of them, well, by the time they kind of figure out and get a handle on things, they're already in the 11th grade, and it's too late to get into any of those
Girl, I
programs.
didn't even know what I was doing in 11th grade or 12th grade. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Still
Yeah,
sometimes feel like,
well,
should I
me
be
too.
teaching?
Same thing. But I can honestly say though, there is so much information. There is so many more ways nowadays that that we have to kind of help kids prepare than we did back when I was in school.
Yeah.
So, you know,
What do you think the greatest lesson someone has ever learned from you was?
I think the greatest lesson that someone's ever learned from me is that as long as we're breathing, we can pretty much overcome or get through anything.
Mm-hmm.
I have this saying, is it earth shattering? That one of my friends, she kind of coined that as my phrase. This someone that I used to work with because she's like, that's just your attitude about everything, and I truly feel like um, whatever happens, if we, it's, as long as we're breathing, we can always go back and do it again, try it again, make it right, fix it, whatever we need to do. Most things just are not nearly as big as
We
most
think
people
it
make
is.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. What's the greatest lesson you've learned from someone else?
I think the greatest lesson that I've learned from someone else, and I would have to say it was one of my grandmothers, is that everybody is important. Everybody has value. Everybody matters. And there is no big me and little you. Everybody's got something to offer to this world.
Mm, that's good. And if you live your life like that, then I feel like you're adding value to other people when
Mhm.
you have that belief system in place. That's good. I'm so happy to get to know you even better. I appreciate you being on the show, and I just wanted to highlight some of your experience. And
Yes, thank you for having me on.
do you think, what do you think education, how it's going now?
I have a lot of concerns. Um, it's a totally different world than it was many years ago when I got into education. And some of that's good, and I don't think some of it is so good. Um, I think changes are going to have to be made, um, some effective ones.
Mm-hmm.
I just see it going in a direction to where I really don't feel like so many of the decisions that are being made, so many of the ways that children are being taught is I just don't feel like it is to their benefit. I feel like there are so many issues in education right now that eventually something's just going to have to be done.
I feel like there's a big resistance in following direction.
Hmm.
That's
For
one big
students,
problem. That's
or
one
are you
variable.
saying for students?
Yeah, for students.
Yes.
I
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
understand being able to express yourself, be individual,
Hmm.
but if I'm telling you to do something in a certain way, there's a
Hmm.
reason. And even if I share a reason with you,
Hmm.
I mean, or with a student,
Well,
but
I
very
feel
resistant, even doing like I. put your first and last name on your paper. Like,
Mhm.
I need to identify you. And there goes a nickname or a name I don't even know. Like, very resistant in just following
Mhm.
basic directions. So it's hard to
I feel like there's a lack of, some of that has to do with like a lack of respect. Um, I I don't know. I was starting to feel like, as an educator, that the students, um, how do I say this? Like the students, really were. It was more important for the teachers to be important, be respectful to the students than it was for the students to be respectful to the staff. Um,
yeah, like our whole
when
focus
it needs to be
now is
both ways.
customer service and
Yes.
making everyone happy. And
Hmm.
uh,
Yes.
sometimes I feel like education is not a place where everybody can be happy because sometimes when learning lessons, we're uncomfortable.
Right.
And
Hmm.
discomfort sometimes is necessary in order to
Hmm.
learn a lesson.
Yes.
Like bumping your head or burning your fingers. Oh, I'm not going to touch the stove anymore. So,
Right. But so often these days, it seems that, um, for lack of a better way to say this, that so many excuses are accepted, and it's difficult for the educator, the teacher, when they don't feel that they have support, the support from administrators, the support from the parents, when it seems that everyone is, they have some reason, they have some, I'll call it an excuse. They have an excuse for why, um, for what's going on, for why the child is, basically sometimes it's just being disrespectful, or, because everybody wants to do what they want to do.
resistant. You're
Yeah,
resistant to
resistant.
what the norm is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it is a challenge, and I think I want to talk about it more um, on a different show because this is it's a big issue. I think
It
kids have
really
seen
is.
that people do not have to follow rules when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to wearing masks and being resistant and
Yeah.
seeing resistance
And
on
that just seems to be
television.
the way of society. And so it's kind of trickled into the schools,
It has,
I believe.
yeah, it has.
Mhm.
I don't have to do this because
Yeah.
I just don't want to.
Hmm.
And my mom didn't wear this or didn't do this, and so I don't have to. My mom didn't
Right.
like this, and so this is how she resisted, or dad didn't like this, and this is how he resisted, and so this is
Hmm.
what I'm doing to resist. And
Hmm.
you gotta have compliance in order for
There to be structure so that kids can learn.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Um, and I know that you've been teaching for a long time, and I've been in education for quite a while, before I retired. And that's one of the things that I'm saying. There have always been kids that have been defiant,
hmm
um, but it seems like now, that's more the norm. It's not just
the
the
exception. Yeah, yeah.
and like I consider myself kind of old school, I guess. And so, I just have the expectation, and I think it's really difficult these days, especially if you have been in education for a while,
hmm
and you're used to, kids following rules and being able to give consequences, for them not following the rule. Like maybe if they don't put their name on the paper, um, you know,
Or turning things in late or things like that, or just
yeah,
being
yeah,
resistant, period. Like, I'm just not gonna do what you asked me to do.
right.
So it's tough. And every day I try to reconcile that in my
Hmm.
brain every day. Um, this is a conversation that could have no end.
Right.
But
You're
we
right.
are at the end, and I really appreciate you coming. I know it was difficult
Yeah,
getting to the studio and everything.
yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No, I really appreciate you taking your time. There were
Sure,
a couple of mishaps, and so I really do. I appreciate you being
sure. Thank you
on
for having me.
the podcast, and I thank you. And
Mhm.
y'all, this is Essential Pedagogy, and we'll see you next time. Our next guest is going to be a parent. I admire this parent a whole lot, and you're going to learn so much about parenting skills that really support education. And I can't wait to talk to her. It's going to be next in 2 weeks, Thursday on the 20th. So I can't wait, and we'll see you guys next time.